This is the Realty Classroom podcast, episode number 4.
Welcome to the show that focuses on helping real estate agents build a bulletproof business plan so that they can sell more properties in less time and live a more fulfilled life.
Are you a real estate agent with an entrepreneurial spirit who wants to turn your job into a business without sacrificing your lifestyle, but you just can't seem to find the right plan to help you get there? Well, then you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Realty Classroom and the host of this podcast. And to help you take immediate action to build a better real estate agent business, I've created a free jumpstart course that's good for any agent over at freeagentgift.com. So let's get started in this episode by going backwards and saying the last time we talked about your desire, you know you all have it, your desire to be perfectly prepared. I want to know all those answers. Why? Because you don't want to be embarrassed. Well, let's kick that can and get over it, because I think the problem with that is you will never be perfectly prepared, especially in an industry that's changing in the digital age so rapidly. You're always having to be improving and learning new things and new perspectives. I think that's the most important thing. What really changes over time, I've noticed in myself as a real estate agent, broker, coach, my perspective is what changes. I see things differently. I make new insights and I'm able to pass those on to my clients. So I want to let you off the hook. Stop beating yourself up. You'll never be perfectly prepared, but you can always be working on it. And last time we talked about that unique selling proposition that all of us, whether you're a rookie or a veteran, should hang on to, is that we are resourceful. That's the best thing that we can be. There's no boundaries to that. There's no perfect preparation. It just simply says, when I don't know the answer, I will be resourceful by going out and finding it, no matter how. Whether it's other people, I have to do some research, I have to run around to look at some properties, whatever it might be, I'm going to be resourceful. Now, that's a good starting point. But when you really begin to take a look at the business as a whole, you have to consider how you're going to go about learning. And so there's no better place for me to start than to teach you how to kiss. That's right. Lean in here. I'm going to teach you how to kiss today. The point is, keep it simple, stupid is a principle that's been around for a while. But before I give you the definition, because again, what I do these days, instead of assuming I know, I go to Wikipedia and I look it up and I see a little bit about the history. And if you start to open up one can of worms about keeping it simple, you go backwards in time to find some pretty darn good company. And I want to surround myself with good company when I give you advice. It's not like I just make it up. Certainly, I think intuition is a great teacher for all of us. But to go back and see who's been before us, and you have early recordings of Aristotle talking about simple assumptions. And that goes on really into the 1200s, where you have this guy by the name of Occam, an Englishman, William of Occam. And he comes about with this philosophy, Occam's razor. And it's really quite simple in its own statement. His principle states that among competing hypotheses, the one with the fewest assumptions should be selected. Now, the one I like the best is our good buddy, Albert Einstein. Now, he says something that's a little bit more challenging about simplicity. He said that everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. How about that, right? Thanks, Al. Leave us hanging there. But I get where he's going with that. So what he's saying is, don't get paralyzed as you're simplifying. And you know I like to use chunking it up as a term. You'll hear that a lot from me. I want to take the lesson, break it down a little bit, but then we're going to chunk it back up so it's simple to remember. Now, when you get into KISS, the best I can tell you is it's an acronym for Keep It Simple, Stupid. And it's a design principle noted by the U.S. Navy in 1960. The KISS principle states that most systems work best if they're kept simple rather than made complicated. Therefore, simplicity should be a key goal in design, and any unnecessary complexity should be avoided. Now, the reason I like to arrive at KISS and the principle and the Navy in the 1960s is because I love that word systems. I didn't always. It wasn't something I woke up out of bed and couldn't wait to build and create a system around this principle. But now, as I'm a little bit longer in the tooth and a few more gray hairs from this business probably, I want to make sure that you understand systems should be your obsession. And so as you notice through these podcasts, what I'm doing is I'm trying to break things down systematically so we can chunk it up into a bigger picture that you're following. You shouldn't be guessing. That's the cool part about simple systems is once they're in place, there's no guessing, there's just following, and then there's distinctions and changes that you make upon that bone structure. Okay. So that's what KISS is all about. Now let's bring it into the real estate business. How does that relate to what we do? So a lot of us just start thinking about we're going to sell properties. And I think going back to worrying about being so perfectly prepared, that's where we go afoul, is that we start to say, well, I don't know a lot about the property. And I remember having that same feeling as a rookie when I would go into these properties. I really knew nothing about them. I didn't know the first thing about building. I'd never been trained in building materials. I'd never really thought about even the systems that run a house, electrical, heating, and cooling. I had no idea. I just knew that I liked to help people. I knew that. And so what I started to understand that the unique resource that I could offer was what? Guidance. That was it. Even when you don't know things, see, letting you off the hook by saying, look, just be resourceful. If you don't know the answer, give somebody an honest answer and say, I don't know, but I'm going to go get it. That's guidance. That's what it is. And that should be so exciting for you to hear these two beats in these last two episodes. Being uniquely resourceful. Wow, nobody can copy you. Nobody can copy your hustle or your detail-oriented approach. Nobody is the same. So it's truly unique. So there it is. Simply put, your unique resourcefulness can start around guidance. And that always made me think about, what does a good guide really look like? And you think about Mount Everest, okay? So here's this massive feat that so many people have endeavored to conquer. And you have these local villagers called Sherpas. To me, those guys and gals are some of the best guides in the entire world. Here's this scariest mountain that people are trying to get up and down and around, and you have these local villagers. And even these guys and gals, local villagers, I mean, they're not perfectly prepared to go up there, but they have that local knowledge. They can tell when something doesn't quite feel right because they're always in and around it. So I think it's important to start to act like those folks. If you want to do some preparation, do it about the local twists and turns of your marketplace. The minute you join multiple listing service, one of the first things you should do is be curious. Get in there, root around, look at what really happens. And we'll get to talking about marketing and designing a marketing plan. But for right now, it's just get relatively familiar with the lay of the land like a Sherpa. Get to become that local knowledge expert. It's so easy to do, especially with multiple listing service and the internet, where you can start to Google and learn. And you're not looking to become a master of every statistic, but just stuff that's interesting and helpful. And I think this is important because what we tend to do is start off by trying to sell properties. Whereas it's so much better if you're going to sell anything, sell the value of your guidance. And again, your resourceful guidance. That's the key. So keeping it simple, resourceful guidance. Next, let's go back historically again, since we have a little historical bent here today. If you want to go back in time, think about the old days, them olden days of selling and finding properties. I go back as far as when they used to print this stuff in a book. There was no digital age back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It wasn't there. You had to wait, and I think it was bi-weekly they printed this book, and you'd have to peruse the whole thing. So you could actually easily add value there by just outworking people. As soon as the book came out, be a hustler. It wasn't on demand. So it was the person that just showed up and broke the bricks early in the morning. So you'd go out, find the properties, call all your best clients that you thought were out there or running around, and you'd show them these properties. Now, here's the problem. That guidance is not as easy to start that way as time has evolved, because what's happened is the access to that information has been given away. If you go back historically again, 1995-ish, when Realtor.com begins to proliferate, they open up Pandora's box. All of a sudden, that thing that was unique to you and I as a realtor is now public information. Now, of course, it takes about another 10 years with the advent of all the smartphones to make that information super easy to access. But by then, there's nothing unique in you going and digging and rooting into the pile and pulling out stuff. Or is there? he said. I want you to pause there and listen and lean in on this moment. See, we all believe that somehow magically the internet is just serving up this information and there's nothing more unique we can add. Well, what am I supposed to do? All these properties are just be given to the buyers, and if the seller needs information about what their property's worth, that's pretty much there too, right? Wrong. I'll say it, wrong. Your guidance has never been more important than it has become in the digital age. Sure, the way they start is different. There's no doubt about it. My whole business model, where I used to ask people to sit down for a couple of minutes to go over their criteria so we could really zero in. Sure, a lot of them perceive and believe that they're getting everything that they need and they can root through it. Well, that's just not so. You know why? There's too much information all of a sudden. So we have to keep that in mind. We can dig in with these folks and guide them through the information that is simply confusing them all the time. And even if you're a rookie, you can go in there and do more research and clearer and cleaner research as a full-time realtor or even a part-time realtor, digging in, extracting a story or a narrative that matters to them, what they're looking for and what people have actually bought things for, what's the real sold price. I mean, there's so much guidance there. Oh, come on, dig in. So the new guidance really is you digging in beyond what they can see online because they're confused. I can make an argument, actually. I had an easier time helping guide people when the information access was more limited. I know they like it now, but too much information does what? It's the whole principle of this podcast today. It paralyzes us. So if we don't chunk it up and keep it simple, everybody's paralyzed. So that's your job. Get in there and chunk it up for these people and be their guide. So let's do that. Let's get to the spot here where we summarize that the key point here is that the simplest solution is to offer you resourceful guidance. That's it. And chunking up the bullet points, learn a little bit more about keeping it simple, stupid, and what that principle really means. It's about the systems through which you take people. Don't try to sell properties. Rather, be a great guide like a Sherpa. Get that local knowledge and you'll magnetize the sale through guidance. You won't even have to sell anything. And ultimately, remember that in them olden days, finding properties was difficult, so guidance was easier. However, I'm going to make the case that the new guidance is needed more than ever. So there you go. Get out there and offer that guidance. And remember, you can take immediate action and get started in a better direction or a right direction wherever you're at in your career with our free video course over at freeagentgift.com. If you like what you've learned here, then we'd really appreciate it, since it's early in this podcast, if you'd pay it forward and give us a positive review on whichever platform you're listening so that other entrepreneurial real estate agents just like you can find their way right here to join us. Hey, thanks for listening, and we look forward to helping you in the next episode.
You've been listening to The Realty Classroom with Danny Griffin. Join us next time to continue learning how to build a smarter real estate agent business plan that helps you live a more fulfilled life.